Shut up and sit down.
Your legs just seem to be turning on their own, and you know you're going at a good speed without having to chase it yourself. Some days it's there, some days it's not. Some days you get on and you actually have to push on the pedals and it doesn't feel pleasant at all.
Winning is a reward you receive when you have put in the hard work, when no one is watching. Winning is for champion attitudes and champion hearts.
Confucius said one time, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right.
And now, your super illustrious Dialed podcast hosts, Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. Please enjoy our little dog and pony show. Thank you.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von During, and today I'm here with Matt Legrand.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How are you guys today?
High energy.
I'm going to speak for them. They're awesome.
They are fantastic. How many cups of coffee has Matt had? 7. I don't know if that's accurate, but
excellent.
Been dealing with kids all day, so you're awake and ready to
I'm
go
like,
right now, right?
adult conversation. This is awesome.
And that next voice you hear, that is Mr. Evan Price.
Yeah, I'll be the kid you have to deal with on here,
Oh,
so I'll
no.
be super immature today. How's it going, everybody?
Oh, good. And to Evan's left and to my right, Mr. Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance in studio.
Lance Romance.
In studio. International.
Say that one more time.
Lance Romance in studio.
Oh, well, hold on. Hold on.
Dr. Lance
hold on.
Hepler. Lance Romance. Lance Romance.
International man of mystery, man about town, Lance Romance.
Lance No Pants. Lance Romance. Last Chance. Lance Romance. Lance Romance in the house. Super Genius. Lance Hepler. Lance Romance. Lance Romance. Lance Romance. Puffy Pants Lance.
Lance Romance.
Yeah. Lance Romance. Yes. In the house.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Somebody's had too much time on
That
their
is so awesome.
Am I bright red?
I like
feel
it.
like I'm bright red.
He's looking very tan. He's looking very tan right now.
Okay.
Oh.
That was that.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
It's good because it's the best intro. I mean, it's
We're-
by far.
That's just-
I feel like the podcast is not even. I mean, people wouldn't even listen if there wasn't some sort of like Lance Romance reference. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very important to the success of the
The
podcast.
quality of that intro compared to me and Matt's intro is just not even.
No.
We're not even in the. We're not even in the same sport.
But the listeners are just like, hurry up,
Yeah,
up,
get to Lance.
you know? So I think that's important for us to.
He has to be last from now on because we have to build. It's a big crescendo.
I will add that to our Facebook page as an MP3 that y'all can download.
Good.
And
That's my
save
ringtone.
that as your new ringtone.
That's my ringtone.
That's a ringtone.
And if you know Lance and he is in your phone, I better see you downloading that and putting that in there.
That would be good. And then I'll just be like, Lance, please call me.
Yeah. Of all of our listeners in like France and Ireland and all those places with Lance Romance ringtones.
Okay. That's
Okay.
I'm happy.
I'm going to use it.
What are we talking about now?
Good times. All right, guys, let's kick off our weekly backpedal. Matt, get us started, buddy.
Sure. Yes. Let me think. We did a little training and snuck out on some roads and stuff like that. Let's think. What have I done? I talked like on one of the podcasts, maybe a couple times, like podcast or two ago. I talked about having like this smart helmet. So I slapped that bad boy on, and it's got like little speakers that do not sit in your ears, Lance. So you do not have to wear headphones. You do not have to cover your ears, but you can still rock out to your music. And
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, seriously. I made a video about it. It's coming out around when this podcast comes out. So
Yes. Fun.
or at least I'm working on a video. So hopefully it'll be out about the same time as the podcast.
Yep.
And it's pretty cool. It's like super smart helmet from the future. And I really liked it because of the music part, because I'm so used to not listening to music when I ride.
Yeah.
For safety, which is what Lance should do.
Yes,
which
that
he
is-
won't. He won't do it. He'll
I
ignore
don't.
me.
Yes,
but
that
but the helmet's great because I think I only did like 20 miles or something like that. But I was just absolutely giving it 100% because I was like just jamming to some music.
And you can
I was,
still like hear
jumping
what's going on
curbs
around
and
you.
stuff. yeah, I could hear for the most part. I think it is still a little bit distracting, but I mean your ears are open, so that's good.
You may have already said it. I'm sorry. Is it a bone conduction sound or something along those lines?
That's what they say it is, but to me it looks like little speakers that just sit at your jawline. So I mean, when I was reading about it, I was like, oh, this is high tech. It like the audio goes into your bone and it's magical. And it's like, no, they just put some little speakers on the chin strap. Right. So I'm like, okay, well, but I do like the helmet a lot. And then it has some lights on the back, and I thought it did some other stuff, but it's
does it have like a disco lighting to the music? It's like
that'd be cool.
And turn signals on the back.
I thought it was gonna have turn signals on the back because it has like left and right lights, but it doesn't work as turn signals. You can turn them on or off. It has another mode called auto, which I don't know what that means. I think it's like if it's dark out, it lights up or something. And then it has a microphone kind of like on the front of the helmet, like kind of where a visor would be if you had a mountain biking helmet, but it's like right in the helmet on the front. I'm pointing to the brim of my hat on the podcast, but you guys can't see that because we don't have video. But
Not yet.
Not yet. But anyway, so I did take a phone call, and there,
was it with the team car? Was Brailford's calling into you?
Yeah, I mean,
ignoring the babysitter.
Yeah, not now.
Yeah, not now, babysitter, not now. Yeah, so Garrett and Froome and I were on like a little conference call, and they were complaining about the wind noise on the microphone. But I think it's pretty cool. When I talked to my buddy, he didn't even notice like that I was wearing a helmet or whatever. So I think it's you could pretty much just wear it all the time. Take your phone calls.
Fun.
Yeah,
that's the way of the future as a cyclist. Is you're just a cyclist all the time now.
Yeah, just wear a helmet in your tight fitting clothes.
Have
all
little
times.
clips to like fold into nice shoes. Yeah. It's like boom, there you go.
And so, additionally, for my Backpedal, we both Evan and I participated, and I say participated because racing is such a strong word, but
it was for that.
It was this race called the PDX Triathlon. PDX, for Portland. PDX Triathlon, and it was held in this Blue Lake Park. And the Blue Lake itself was closed to swimming because there was, I think, algae blooms, and it's warm enough here now that we have lots of issues with different lakes around the area. And they shut down the whole lake. There's nothing the race director could possibly do, right? No. It's like this. No. I mean, you'd be crazy to have people swim in this lake when they're saying don't swim in the lake. I mean, everyone could have gotten sick.
They also legally shut down the lake. Like it wasn't even a call by the race directors. Right. It was just
it's out of her hands, right? So so no swimming. And what I had signed up for, because my legs have been bugging me, I had signed up for the aqua bike. So
you were just gonna swim and bike.
I was gonna swim and bike, okay. Right? And because my calves have just been bugging me, so that's what I had signed up for. So then you get this email like I don't know the day before the race or whatever, and it's like yeah we can't swim. So we took everyone, the triathletes and the aqua bike people, and we threw them in the duathlon. So I'm like, all right, whatever.
Biggest duathlon ever.
Yeah.
That was a massive duathlon start.
It still wasn't that big because if you think about it, there was, some of the races at that venue are significantly bigger. This is kind of
That's true. Blue Lake Triathlon's huge, yeah.
Blue Lake one's bigger, and then in this race, I don't know, what do you think? There was like 300 people or something.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Was it a mass start or was it a wave start?
They had a sprint, and they did a sprint start. And the way they did that was they had them run a mile and then get on your bike, which I've seen others. Yeah. I've seen
just
other races do the same thing.
Spread it out a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then for the duathlon, they had them do 5K, 40K, 10K. So for running, I was like, yeah, no, So then they were like, okay, but if you're doing the aqua bike, you can skip the last 10K. So I was like, okay, all right, maybe I'll be fine. And before the race, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna walk jog the 5K or whatever. But
what'd you end up running? I forgot to ask you.
It was really bad. I think it was almost 30 minutes in the 5K.
That's what I told you to do, though.
I know.
That's okay.
I know, but like, I've run twice that fast.
Oh yeah,
or no,
literally.
I've run half that speed. So it's
actually even less. You've gone.
So what scares me is it's like, oh, like I don't want to be out there, and my calves were killing me. Like they were like cramping and tearing and stuff like that, and so I was really in pain. And and I finished that. I got on the bike and I was really far back. Like it was interesting. Like we talked on one of the podcasts about getting like chicked and grandma chicked or whatever it is.
Right.
And this is running like
Grandma chicked.
You guys got chicked. I got grandma chicked.
Grandma chicked.
Yeah.
But so that's what was going on the run on the first 5K. I was running and I was like, wow, I'm with some, some different, folks or whatever. And there's totally, I have no problem with that. But part of me is like, I was a collegiate runner. I should be able to, keep up with the, moms of 5 kids that are out here just, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do it. I was hurting so bad.
Yeah.
But then you get on the bike.
But you weren't even going to run originally, so that's okay.
No, I
cut
kind
yourself some slack.
I wish I hadn't run, to be honest. Like, because now I'm like another week from recovering from this calf thing. Because I've had this before, and it just takes a little bit of time, and then I start back up, and I'm fine usually. But it's frustrating. And then I got on the bike, and you start immediately like just like passing people, which is kind of a fun way to race because you're coming by people, pretty well and stuff like that. And I got to the bike rack when I first got off the run, and I was like, okay, I figured I would be the first aqua bike person because I do have like a collegiate running background. Like I should be, of the people that don't want to run, I should be kind of towards the front of that group. And nope, there was like the bike rack was like empty. So I was thinking to myself as I was biking the 40K, I was like, I actually need to pick off whoever the people were that like did the aqua bike and beat me on the run. So it was super weird. And I somehow turned into this competitive mode where I was like, I actually need to pick up the pace. So I pushed the bike.
I knew you would do that. Like, I know you're like, oh, I'm just going to go and just race the aqua bike. It's like,
no, but
Matt's not just going to go and just race something.
Well, I mean, even though there's like almost that event is not very competitive. There's a lot less people doing it, and the people that are doing it are just for whatever reason, maybe they're older, whatever it is, they're just, it's just not as competitive of a division or whatever. I still want to win. Yeah, I don't want to get second or third or whatever. And I was just like, every person I was passing on the bike, I was like, maybe this person's in the race. Like maybe this person's the aqua bike person. I kept looking up, and it was like, and I just worked my way through the field to where I was probably in the top, I don't know, like 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, maybe this person is the person that I need to pass. So I was like absolutely hammering. And the other thing that's nice about finishing on a bike ride is there's no reason to hold back.
Hammer yourself.
Just to lay it out.
So I was putting like 400 watts down, and I was like, I have to pass this one person like before the finish of the bike. As normally like when you do a triathlon, you're like, no, just cruise or whatever because you get on the run and you can take over and you have plenty of time or whatever. Yeah. And you don't want to put out more watts than you should because you want your legs fresh to run. And it's I do really enjoy being able to like finish the bike ride hard. Kind of like any bike race that we do, right? Where it's like you finish and you're like, I gave it everything I had.
It's like doing an actual time trial.
Yeah, and I sometimes think it's like, oh, we do all these triathlon races and we do, all these little bike segments in there, but we never hammer.
Yeah.
You never like feel like you give it 100% on the bike.
This is why anybody who asks me to like, how do I get faster as a triathlete on, with my bike split? You have to ride with cyclists. Yeah. Because in triathlon, you don't know how to actually go all out on the bike until you ride with cyclists, and then you know how to go all out on the bike.
One of the things that we did, we haven't done it this year. Last year, we used to have this group ride that went out towards the. I guess it's basically west of here towards. It's called like Vancouver Lake, and we do this ride where we actually like hammer each other, and then we kind of have like a sprint finish and stuff. And that's one of those rides where we would do that once a week, and I would just like go to the well pretty much no matter what. Like you're pushing really hard on the bike. And I haven't done that at all this year, so maybe that's one of the reasons I'm not in great shape. But it felt fun to be on the bike and be like, oh, I'm kind of giving it what I have. Nice. So my time wasn't great. I'm not in great shape. I'd normally be probably 2 or 3 minutes faster over 40K, but it was okay. It was fine.
It was good to see you out there.
You ended up placing
victorious.
But tell us the best part. Yeah, the best part of
what award did you win?
Yes, thank you.
I have a hat on right now, and it says like PDX Triathlon.
Oh,
it's
pretty
nice.
But there was a plaque that you won, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Okay, so I did. So when you win, you get a couple things. Which Evan and I, so we'll talk about Evan's race in a minute, but you get this picture frame, which is kind of a weird award, but it was and it says like PDX Triathlon. It's got a picture of like Mount Hood, which is the mountain in the area, and it's just beautiful picture, and it says I looked at it, and I didn't look at it until like the afternoon, and it said first place female overall.
Yeah, first place champion female,
something like that. And I was like, I just laughed.
I think your pants were too tight.
Yes, could be. And I was like, well, maybe I don't know how that worked
They
out.
gave you the wrong flag.
They grabbed the wrong flag.
So
That's awesome.
They have these like bags of awards because you also get like a beer and you get like a loaf of bread and you get
That bread is really good too. It's Dave's
yeah,
bread, which I
it's
like.
great.
Yeah.
And then what else? You get a couple other little things, right?
A glass. You get a cool glass.
I got a pint glass or whatever.
Bunch of little gift certificates. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I got gift certificates. That was just in yours, I guess. But
sorry.
so you get some nice little awards, and they have all these bags up there. And of course, I want one with beer in it because that's who I am. And so I think they were just like, okay, this one, here you go. And I think that they had some poor lady has like first place mail overall. I don't know who you are, but you've got my little frame.
That was a funny picture.
I
had an audible snicker when I saw that.
Good. Yeah. So I did take a picture of that with what I call my victory beer, and then I posted it to Instagram, and my Instagram is at Matt_Legrand. So you guys can find it and you can laugh at my photo as well.
Champion female.
Champion
Matt Legrand.
female.
Matthew
Legrand.
Legrand.
Champion of the aqua bike. Yeah. So it was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah.
It was insanely hot. I mean, it was probably
warm.
like 95 degrees.
I kept on telling myself it wasn't warm, and then once the race was done, I was like, okay, it's now warm. It is warm.
Yeah, it was hot, especially afterwards.
Yeah.
So
during the race, it was okay. It was warm, but it wasn't like overwhelmingly hot during the race. But
yeah. Yeah. So Evan, how was your?
Let's hear about your race.
Do you want to talk about the race?
Did well. I'm bad at strategizing for duathlons. That's what I found out yesterday.
Well, yeah.
How do you even race a duathlon?
Yeah.
We need a comment on here. Somebody who does duathlons well, tell me how you're actually supposed to race that.
I would love to hear that too, because there's some people that are
from
good
like an
at
actual expert. Yeah, I mean, I know a few people who they'll put kind of their A races into duathlons, and they're good. I mean, they're really fast at it, but I don't know. I went out fast in the 5K. I was like, this is what you're supposed to do, right? Just go all out the entire time. And looking back, probably should have saved something, but
I don't know.
For an Olympic distance, I think that's what I'd do.
Yeah. I mean, because like we were just talking about before, and Lance made a good point, that the duathlon, the only difference between a duathlon and a triathlon is the duathlon, your heart rate's spiking a lot quicker. Yeah. So your heart rate's basically high the entire race. Which
I think you go hard on the first 5K.
Yeah. My game plan was to win the race on the 5K and the bike. So
my guess is that if you look at your heart rate data from the entire day, that you're very high on the 5K and then it drops on the bike.
Yeah.
Because even if you're pulling away from people, you're pretty comfortable on
you're
the bike.
You're going to steady out on the bike, yeah.
Yeah. And then your heart rate's probably going to spike on the 10K, but maybe not quite as high as the 5K.
Yeah.
I don't know if you looked at that data.
I basically made sure I don't race to data.
Rate,
yeah. I basically race to time and speed there.
You should keep it for historical reasons.
I need to, actually. I really should have. Looking at heart rate would have been a smart thing to do yesterday.
Well, or just for fun to look at it afterwards to be like,
see what I was sitting at during the 10K. Yeah.
I bet by the time you got to the 10K, it was pretty mellow. I don't know.
Yeah. I definitely during that second half, that 5K mellowed out on the last run there. Definitely found out that like it's weird leading into the bike because me being not a super strong swimmer, I have never in my life gotten on the bike and been like, all right, well, what do I do now? Right. Yeah.
So nobody to chase. You just had to.
Yeah. It was me and a guy named Nathan. How do you pronounce his last name?
I don't know what his last name is.
So we'll talk about it for a second. He's a new guy to the area. Historically, a great fast triathlete, does a lot of long distance Ironman stuff, races for a team called Everyman Jack, which any triathlete listening to this, you've probably seen them on the podium at every Ironman race you've ever done. Yeah. You close your eyes and pick an American Ironman, and they're on the podium. That is the best amateur team in the world. So
yeah, it's a pretty big group of people, and they're amateur, but they have a pretty nice sponsorship.
Yeah, I'm putting amateur in quotes here because they have guys on that team that smoke pros, like that absolutely kill the professional fields.
It's an excellent team for sure.
So that guy was chasing you.
Yeah, so
he ran with you in the 5K.
He ran with me on the 5K, which after the race, talking to him, I don't think he knew how to pace a duathlon either because he kept on saying he was waiting for me to slow down, and I kept on saying that I was waiting for him to slow down. I think it was one of those, and we got on the bike. He stayed with me for maybe 4 or 5 miles, and I decided I was going to put out a hard 10-minute segment and just dropped him. So
where was that? Was it
right once we hit the wind? Once you get along the river and hit the wind after that first out and back.
It's a pretty bike course. I'll try to make.
It's an awesome
I'm going to try and
course.
put some video together of some of that stuff maybe because it's a pretty bike course. You're kind of along the Columbia River.
Yeah.
on the Oregon side, and I mean, you've got like Mount Hood in the background. You've got some pretty stuff, and I mean, it's
just a beautiful bike ride. It just is, and it's fun because
it's flat.
Yeah, it's flat, but what I like about it is the wind will play a factor.
Oh yeah.
So that first half of the bike, if you like, I really pushed through that first half of the bike, so then I could kind of settle in the second half.
The last time you did this course, you didn't exactly do this course.
No, I added a little
added
bit of time.
a little bit.
It's amazing how fast you can go when you like
do the
hit all the
course.
turns. Yeah, when you make all the turns, like you can fly. It's incredible.
Yeah. So, Evan, did you have the fastest bike split then?
Yeah, by a decent margin.
By a couple minutes.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with my bike. My bike fitness, I don't think I've ever been this fast on the bike.
It
so
kind of came around quickly because 3
it
weeks ago,
it definitely came around quick.
3 weeks ago, you know, I wouldn't say that you're.
I was definitely not
at the
this
same
confident
level,
on the
right?
bike. Yeah,
And I think it's just those team long rides with the dial cycling team. Those long rides help.
Evan.
You're absolutely. I'm gonna thank Lance and the entire dialed cycling team for this, but
it does.
But yeah, for me, it was just for 4 straight weeks. I just focused on all right, we're putting in at least 12 hours a week on the bike, and it's gonna be hard stuff. So yeah. And then that 10K
what was your 40K bike split?
It was like high 58s. I think the race had me at 59 flat.
Okay.
Yeah.
25.3 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. I bet you could go faster too because
if I come out of the water, I'm going a minute too faster than that because your heart rate's so high coming off that 5K. Yeah.
Well, and plus when you're in the lead, you don't have quite the urgency to be like, I
just kind of settled into a pace. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was duathlons are fun but hard. Great training days. Anybody who wants to like become a faster run biker, just start throwing duathlons into your training.
Yeah.
Great training tool.
Yeah. I used to do something similar where I would do like for workout, like a 5K hardish and then hour on the bike and like usually like the rollers and then 5K hard, try to negative split from the previous 5K.
That's
just
a really good workout.
As a workout,
That's
right?
a great workout.
And I would do that kind of in the spring, kind of, you know, prior to some of this stuff, and it, you know, your legs kind of get that, you know, harsh bounce off the bike.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great workout, especially if you drop the running component.
Yeah, true.
How about walk? Walk a 5K or ride a cyclocross bike for a 5K. Jump on your road bike, jump back on the cyclocross bike. That's kind of like running.
Yeah, that's a good idea. There.
All right,
So
Lance.
plus you won the race overall.
Yeah, I've never led a race wire to wire, so that was fun.
Yeah.
Well, the first mile you didn't lead. I think
that's true. Well, we were trading. You're right. He wasn't in front of me.
And I think he might have just gone out hard on that race.
He was in front of me.
He looked like he was a little ahead of you, and I was like, oh, interesting.
I know.
And then
right?
on the bike, he was, you know, he was on your.
He was on my tail there. Yeah,
pretty close.
He was. Yeah.
So draft legal.
No.
Okay, so he was just kind of like sitting in there.
I'm not. I did not have a review mirror, but you know, there's that stuff goes on, but that's okay. Yeah. I think he's been racing long enough. I think he was
better.
I think he was far enough back to where it was okay, but yeah.
Yeah.
Once you get into that race,
there's this legal draft zone, which is it's like 10
the biggest
feet.
Gray zone of all time.
So it's 10 feet. In reality, you're getting a draft benefit, like really all the way up to like 20 feet.
Yeah. I've heard up to 30 feet you get a draft benefit.
So you really, I mean, if
everybody in triathlon takes advantage of it.
If you're biking with like if I was biking with Evan, who's significantly faster than me, and I could get in his legal draft zone, which would be that 10 feet back, that'd be all over.
You get there. Yep.
And that's that. In my mind,
everybody does that.
That's fair game.
Everybody does that. Yeah.
Kind of like the equivalent of a sticky bottle, or
yes. Yeah. That is that's a very good example. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
There's definitely like, I know for me, so being somebody who I like to ride at the front, it's my responsibility then when I pass somebody to make sure that pass sticks. So that's why I don't like when strong cyclists will complain a ton about it, because it's like, hey, if you don't like the rule, then you drop the guy. Don't sit there and complain about it. You drop him when you got the chance.
You put in a hard 10 minutes.
Yeah.
When was that? You said with the wind, was that going
right
west
or
east?
So right when we're going west, east, right?
Okay.
So wait, no, west. It's when we're coming back
towards
towards Airport Way.
I saw you guys, and you were still close.
Yeah.
When I was heading out.
Once we hit that little overpass. You know, that little overpass right before it flattens out.
Yeah.
I don't have a power meter, so I'm going to pretend. I put out a 750 watt effort. No, I'm joking.
doesn't make up the numbers.
Put in a 1200 watt effort at that. No, I have no idea, but I really hammered up that, and I just settled in.
That's really 20 minutes or less, 15 to 20 minutes left in the race.
I also cheated and asked the lead moto, so the lead moto was right next to me for a second.
Okay.
He pulls up, and I kind of look over at him. I'm like, how far back do you think he is? He kind of looks back. He's like, I don't know. He's looking pretty small back there. I was like, that's also not allowed. I'm not allowed to ask him that. They're not allowed to give you splits. No.
Really? I didn't know that rule.
I've heard people say that in triathlon you're not allowed to get splits unless you're in a professional field.
Oh wow. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, because in Kona they'll give the guys splits.
Yeah.
No, I've heard in amateur field you're not allowed to get splits.
That's a weird rule.
You can't talk to the motos. I was talking to the guy a bunch, but yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. I feel like that's a.
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
All right, let's report him. Let's see if we can get his. Let's get his
victory expunged,
suspended for the
and
rest
also
of the season,
the frame that he has. We'll get that. We got to remove that from his possession, and it'll probably come over my way.
Actually, with the seat post slipping down a little bit, and if Specialized wants to give me a new frame, that'd be great.
Your seat post is slipping.
Yeah, it's time to get that warranted.
Okay.
My seat post is not epoxy.
You're putting the carbon paste stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just not staying.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get that fixed here soon.
Okay.
Yeah, just got to make it through the rest of the season with it.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's okay.
Lance, how was your weekend, buddy?
My week was perfect. Or it was good. Or I need new adjectives, I think. Yeah, no, I put in like 20 hours on the bike last week, which was good. I did some short track racing, I did some gravel riding, and I did some big riding. So what do you want to hear about?
All of it.
The St. Helens ride again.
I did.
Did the awesome ride again.
Yes, I did that big St. Helens ride. I got an invite the night before. There was just 5 of us, all teammates. It was kind of odd. We all showed up, and it was 4 doctors and John Hatfield. It was all doctors.
Honorary PhD.
It was the honorary. Yeah. That's right. He must have had it, but
the PhD ride.
Yeah, it was
MD
another
or whatever. Yeah.
It was 86 miles and 9,000 feet of vertical that day, and it was a good day. So,
Lance has turned into a climber over here.
That's what Dr. Myers keeps telling me. Is if you want to be a better climber, you got to go out and climb more, and I hate it. I hate it.
Well, the going down's fun.
Yes. I rode all the climbs much faster than we did it 3 weeks ago or whatever it was. Yeah.
Good.
So that was good.
Did that group stay together?
For the most part, we stayed together. Hatfield and Dr. Hanel both dropped us on the first climb. Me and Mike, and we had a guy, Kirk Wong, who's an orthopedic surgeon. He's not on the team, but great guy. So he was out there with us too, and they dropped us on the first climb, but we caught him on the descent, and then, I don't know, I feel better the last 40 miles than I do the first 50 miles.
That's what you did last time too.
Yeah,
you did the same thing last time.
So I ended up dropping them all on the final 2
bombs away
descents, and then so it was all good. So, but it was a good time. They were good guys to ride with. I'd do it again. There were a lot of different team things that went on this week, so everybody was kind of spread out a little bit. But I was glad I was able to do that. So that was fun.
And I missed your short track last week because I was out of town. So you won again?
I did.
Wow. Wait a minute. Does that mean that you might have won this whole series?
You got to be right there.
Or is there more racing?
Series wraps up tonight.
There's one race tonight.
Oh, no pressure.
Yeah,
oh, my gosh.
And in our division, Category 2, men's 40 to 49, Dialed Cycling has wrapped up the podium. So
that's a podium sweep.
It's a wrap on the podium.
So we're basically going to the Champs-Elysees. We have the yellow jersey and the podium.
So right now, Mike Hamness could beat me for the series championship.
Okay.
If he wins the race and I place worse than 12th.
Okay, so you just need to stay. You need to stay.
You gotta stay
I just got to stay upright.
Upright.
Yeah. But don't go into the race thinking I got to stay upright. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, this is where you talk race strategy.
Right
yeah. Oh, man.
That's right.
Sorry.
So I'm excited for tonight's race. It should be fun. There's a little less pressure tonight, but of course I want to try to win the race again. But
it's a fun atmosphere tonight. In general,
yeah, it's a good time. And I didn't take off at the start. Me and Mike and Chris all kind of separated, and there was another guy from another team who has only been to a race or two, and the 5 of us kind of pulled away, and then
that's nice.
Yeah, and then about lap 3, Mike Hamness, that's right, he dropped his chain again in a bumpy spot.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I got around everybody, and then I gapped them, so I kind of won going away from them. So which was fun.
Yeah,
there you go.
So we're going to start to sound like an elitist podcasting group because all three of us won this week.
We're trying. We're trying.
We got to start having bad races again. Do you remember when we were having bad races and we were so much more relatable? We got to start sucking again.
I'll fully offset all of that for you guys.
Well, this is rare because there was that time period where like Jake was just killing it, absolutely killing it, and we were not killing it.
That's true. Yeah, so it was a great race. It was a lot of fun. So tonight, the big series finale, and we've got 4 or 5 guys that are battling for championships or podium spots
in
on
different
the team,
categories.
In different categories. So,
do they do anything fun to like wrap it up on the last?
Yeah. They what they do is once the final race is over, they need an hour or more to tally before they do the podiums for the series. So they do a big relay race. They do a short track relay race, and you don't do the whole course. You only do the motocross track part. So it's only like a 2-minute lap, and they're 10-person teams, and you only do 1 lap, and you have to have at least 3 juniors or 3 women on your team.
Yeah.
And I think Dialed Cycling, we have enough that we're
doing
2 teams.
We have some really strong females in juniors, so that's almost not fair.
That's the best part about the Dialed team is it's like juniors and females. We'll do okay.
We did that last year, and it was a blast. I really had a fun time, and it was fun because every time somebody would go out on our team, they would come back and they would give like a head count of how many people they passed. Because we wanted to do well, so everybody's come back in, and it was fun watching everybody cheer each other on and go out there and hammer.
So it's all for fun, and it's just a good time. But it gives us this relay race to do with teams. While they tally everything. So we're looking forward to that tonight. So it should be fun.
Yeah, and you're going to win that category, and you're going to get bumped up next year, aren't you?
Yeah, I really should be racing the next category up, and so should Mike, and so should Chris. All 3 of us.
I need to have all you guys be racing 3s by next road season, so I can have. I want to have a nice little 3s team. We can all have fun together.
So you guys are going to be in the 45 plus Cat 1.
Yeah.
Which is just basically 1 tier below the elite, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'll be racing with you guys in that category too.
Will you turn 45 next year?
Yes, I'm race age 45 next year.
Gosh, dang it! Does that mean I have to give the bike back?
No.
How about this? To make it fair, Jake has to ride his road bike on
Jake
this.
has to ride his road bike on. Yeah, there'll be a contingent of us out there.
There's going to be a pile of us in that category, so should be fun. Yeah, I'm really bummed out that I didn't get to race the Cat 1 under 45 series. I would have raced with Hayden Weirman this year, which would have been a lot of fun. And I'm going to age out of that one.
He's in second place for the series.
And he didn't even race the whole series there. He started his first season was
Cat 2.
Cat 2.
And won the first 2 races, so he moved himself up.
Yeah, I think he's still like in the top 10 or something like that, the points there. So
we should do like an inner dialed race, like an inner bike dialed race, and it has to be like over 30 versus under 30, and see where we're. I'd be very scared of the over 30 group.
I think they would crush us. Well, not us.
What is Matt?
Over 30?
Matt, how old do you think you are?
Matt's going to join us next year. Aren't you going to be in the 40?
29.
I'm excited about turning 40.
Matt's turning 29 next year, apparently.
It's gonna be great. Stay in my 20s forever.
Anything else, Lance?
I did some other gravel adventures this week on my gravel bike.
I thought I saw something on Instagram somewhere. Did you do the same route?
I didn't. No, I went to a different spot, just trying to find new spots to check out. I went to the Gifford Pinchot Forest.
Nice.
North of Yakult.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So a little closer to Vancouver instead of out in the gorge. And a lot emptier roads.
Okay.
Nobody really out there.
Fantastic cell coverage the entire way.
Nope, no cell coverage at all. Actually got stung on my face by a bee and my face had all swelled up by the time I got back. So
is that out there by Rainbow Falls?
It's by Sunset Falls.
Or Sunset Falls, sorry. Yes, okay.
It ended up at Sunset Falls.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Usually when I see your cool rides on Strava, I always hit the map and then I zoom out to figure out where the hell
That's actually exactly what I do too. Yeah.
Where is
it's this? Like, Idaho. Okay, that's where Lance was.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, good more times. Reasons to hate Mr. Lance Romance.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Glorious.
Oh.
That's enough of me. Jake.
Yeah, I actually snuck away, and I didn't want to completely ruin my family summer vacation, so we had all these great camping trips scheduled, and we had to cancel a couple of them, but there was one that was still on there that we thought we could get done. And I went ahead and took a stab at doing some tent camping, even though I really wasn't worth much. So we loaded up the truck, and by saying we, I'm referring to my wife. She did the bulk of the work. And then we drove down to Lake Odell, and it's about, I don't know, it's like hour west of Bend and about like an hour and a half east of Eugene. It's down there in the Deschutes National Forest, if I'm not mistaken. And by saying we drove down there, my wife drove down there. And then we got down there and we set up the campsite. And by we, I mean my wife and my daughter. And I pretty much for the bulk of the weekend just sat in a little camping chair, next in our campsite and just kind of hung out and watched the kids play and went out and spent way too much money on this crazy air mattress pad thingy that's like super high tech, and man, it was actually pretty comfortable. I have to like adopt that for
sleep on that anyway.
Yeah, and spent more time setting up my sleeping arrangements just so I could try and get some sleep and be somewhat comfortable. But we did that, and that was a lot of fun. And we actually ended up coming home a day early because they on the website said something to the effect of having nice bathroom facilities. And we mistakenly took that as like, okay, they've got like flushing toilets and sinks and showers and all that other stuff. And that's synonymous for them with pit toilets, and that was about it. So,
no showers.
Yeah, my wife doesn't like pit toilets at all, but we'll do it. But usually when we've got that kind of a setup with our kids, we limit it for 2 nights, so we came home a day early. And then aside from that, went to a couple doctor's appointments, went to an MRI appointment for my shoulder. Should have some more information this week, hopefully. And yeah, it wasn't too exciting. So yeah, fingers crossed. And I think we get the MRI report on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, so I'll be back in to see Evan, and he'll kind of know what's going on.
Fingers crossed. Here we go.
Yeah,
this is the push to get Jake back on the bike.
Yeah. Did you bring a camera on your camping trip?
Oh yeah, I did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Took some pictures of the kids playing in the lake and just stuff around the campfire. It was pretty fun.
Post them anywhere?
Couple, yeah. Post them up on the old Instagrams and a few up on the Facebook or the book face.
The book face, yes.
And your Instagram is MTB Jake or something like that?
Yeah, it's MTB_Jake.
Okay, gotcha.
And I do have one error and omission thing to bring up for myself.
Oh, here we go.
I'm sure
I was listening to our last podcast, like I do, before I was doing editing stuff. I'm like, oh, Mr. John Declan Culp did not ride for AG2R. Not that you guys care, but he was actually on the Argos Shimano team. Yeah. So
I should have caught that. Yeah. That's on me too. Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of one of those things too, because I was really like following that team. And that was when Marcel Kittel first came on the scene.
Yep.
And they were riding.
They were on the same team together for a little bit there.
Yeah, and Felt was their bicycle sponsor, and I've got a ton of friends that work at Felt, all the way from the owner and CEO all the way down to all engineers and designers and all that other fun stuff. So I really followed that team closely, and I just wanted to put that out there that's who he rode for. So,
well, while we're talking about that, should we talk about the hot seat question that Evan was like? I think it was last week. He was like, "Hey, when is Garen Thomas gonna explode?"
Yes,
is that your question was?
Yes, it was. So let's go to where when I said he would blow up, which is exactly when he did not blow up, but was the 65 kilometer stage with like 60% climbing through the whole stage. I was thinking he's not going to make it through that day. There's no way. And the guy's never survived an entire Grand Tour at that level, and he did, and he dominated.
I think I agreed with you, and I was like, no, Froome's going to shine. This is where he's going to go, and he's going to pull the trigger. And
nope. In Froome's defense, and I know we're like now cascading down into like talking about the Tour a little bit too much, but in Froome's defense, the guy just won the Giro. Nobody these days does the Giro to Tour back to back. The last guy to do it was Panettiere, and as we all know,
Has anyone named Tom Dumoulin? Has he done that recently?
He
seemed somehow pulled it off and looked okay.
There's 2 guys in this era that would be able to win back to back, and it's Tom or Chris Froome would be the only 2 that could do it.
Yeah,
but
that was errors and omissions, maybe. I don't know. That was tough to predict.
Predictions are errors and omissions. We could go down every prediction we made for. I mean, there was a day where was it me? No. Me and Lance said Nibali and I said Uran, and the next day they're both out of the race.
Yeah. That's true. And I picked Froome, and I think
you were close with Froome.
And I think in this since the last podcast too. We were talking. Well, I talked about Dan Martin. That was Dan Martin, and he actually did
Not
well. He did well on that stage. I mean, he had some ups and downs and bumps, and I knew that he was. I like him. I think he's a good guy.
He's a great
But have you guys noticed that we've been predicting things, or we will talk about things, and all of a sudden other things will kind of happen that will be loosely related? Because I was talking about bike handling. We were talking about that as part of our injury prevention.
Yeah.
And who did I use as an example? As never crashes because of his stellar bike handling.
Yes.
And we talked about it on Monday, and it got posted on Wednesday, and literally, like as we were posting it, he's crashing his bike. I'm like, oh geez,
we're like the kiss of death for these guys. We need to not tour predictions. We need to make them very like loose. It's got to be like we're not making firm predictions here for the record.
And then we just talked about Lance tapering a little bit, and he'll finally win that race, and he tapers a little bit, and he goes up and dominates. And Lance is talking about how he nearly gets hit by a car and locks up his brakes, and like next week later I get creamed.
Yes,
we're only good at like local predictions. International predictions we're terrible at.
Just putting it out there. Just be careful when you listen to this podcast of what might actually come to fruition. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and start our first little segment here.
Well, wait, Jake. Didn't you throw your leg over a bike this last week too?
Oh, I sure did.
I'm looking at the bike right over here. It's like the lightest trainer bike I've ever seen.
It was one of those things where I'm getting ready to start back in. I kind of got fully like released to ride the trainer, and Sean Martin, who was with me, kind of got his okay to start doing some stuff as well. And sent Sean a text, hey, I'm thinking about getting on the trainer. How you feeling? What's going on with you? And then he's like, what? I think I'm ready to do a light spin as well. I'm like, hey, why don't you come up here and we'll come into my...
Did he really?
Yeah, we'll come into my office and I'll set up a spot next to you. Lance had let me borrow a bike, and so I had an extra bike up here. He was super generous, and Michael Myers was super generous to let me borrow a bike that actually worked with my trainer. It's 11 speed and Lance's 10 speed. So I had a portable trainer that I set up, put Sean on it, and the two of us did actually end up riding for an hour on Zwift.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was our first ride since we got taken out. So we were the last ones to ride together, and we were the first ones to ride together, and it was just kind of neat and poetic for us to kind of kick things off and start up again. So
I saw Sean's son Nels,
yeah.
And I just saw him like just climbing, like just back and forth on Lacamas Lane, which is this really big hill, like right next to where we are doing this podcast. And I was like, that guy's going to be awesome. And like 3 weeks from now, he's going to be unbeatable.
To have that amount of discipline, to be like, I'm going to go do hill repeats.
I think
what kid does
he's
hill repeats?
Probably like 14, 15.
Yes, exactly where he's at. So
good for him.
I see him all the time too.
And oh, really?
Just when I was going to my a doctor's appointment or something like that the other day, we were driving out. My wife's driving me, and there's Nels riding his bike out here doing some hills.
I mean, I just rolled down my window and I was like, do you want me to turn my music up for you? Because he was just climbing, and I was like, I'm so proud of you.
God.
Go look on Strava though. He's starting to get cups.
Oh, really?
He's starting to get on the leaderboards, and he's still young, so
it's going to be a beast.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So it's going to be amazing.
That kid's going to be going on that St. Helens ride with us in like 2 years, and is just going to tear our legs off.
It's pretty cool because he just got into cycling last year or
something
about
like
that.
Yeah.
And it was just cool because his dad's an unbelievable cyclist, and it's cool to see him kind of get the bug.
Yeah, it's fun watching the next generation definitely come up and get inspired. So fun stuff. Good job, Nels. Okay, so our segment. We're going to discuss some famous cycling quotes, some of them that we love, some that we might hate, why we like them, and kind of what the meanings are to us. So just going to kind of kick this around the table. And for those of you out there listening, we have a list of probably, about 12 or 15 different quotes here. And there might be some more that we're going to add to this as well. I'm going to go ahead and who wants to start here? Evan, you want to start?
Oh, boy. Okay.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to pick on Evan first.
We're going to get very philosophical here. Like this is our philosophical section.
Yeah.
So here, general rule with quotes for me, and I know my little brother will occasionally listen to this podcast, so he'll find this funny, but my little brother has a very passionate opinion about quotes and any life advice. He hates all of them.
Right.
He's my little brother's very engineer based in how he thinks, so he's very much just get the job done, no emotion.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately I've adopted some of that, which if anybody's watched me train, I train very emotionless. It's very like, you just get the hours in, you don't think about it.
Do the work.
But Nico has this quote. I'm not sure if he's the one who made up this quote, but he says, if you need quotes to get through the day, you already lost. And he actually wrote that down and put it on my desk one day because I think I mentioned a quote to him, and he was so offended that I would mention a quote to him because I like some quotes, and he was so like mad about that. He was like,
I love it.
It's like, if you need a quote, you already lost. Like, it's done.
So does that mean we just need to move on to the next topic?
No, because I like quotes. So we're gonna keep
this is not Nico's podcast.
Yeah,
it's Evan's.
Nico can sit at home and be like, Evan, you're ridiculous. I don't care. There are a couple quotes I like. But I just thought that was funny because as soon as I saw this from you, Jake, I just thought of him immediately. I was like, oh, funny. I was like, I'm gonna love this, and he would hate that so much. But I'll just mention two here. Sure. Neither one's on here, but my first one's from Eddie Merckx. I think everybody has it. Like,
this was I was gonna bring the same thing up, right? Because there's another Eddie Merckx quote, and I was like, I think that I was thinking about. I was like, what is this quote? The other one.
Every good cyclist has like probably has heard this one from Merckx. Merckx had some really good quotes, and he says them in that Belgian, like very simple, just like tough sort of way, which I love. It's like the core and heart of cycling. But my favorite one from Eddie Merckx is, "It never gets easier, you just get faster."
Yeah,
that was always my favorite from him,
and that's the God honest truth right there too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The sport never gets, and that's why I think it's such a good sport to bring everybody together, because you know that person at STP who takes 15 hours to finish the race is suffering just as hard as that person who did it in 10 hours.
Yep.
There's that same equal experience, which I think is great. And then one that, this is considered an anonymous quote, but I know it was made famous. Roger Bannister referenced this quote quite a few times. It was, I think, Matt, you probably have heard it, the Lion and Gazelle quote.
Oh, yeah. I did. Yeah. I actually love that one. Yeah.
This is, and people can roll their eyes. I've never gotten a tattoo and probably never will, but I've joked with my friends, if I was ever to get a tattoo, it would be this. It would be this quote. It's, "Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up. It knows it must run faster than the fastest lion or it will be killed. Every morning a lion wakes up. It knows it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it will starve to death. No matter if you're a gazelle or a lion, when the sun comes up, you better be running." Which I think as a running quote is great. I love that one.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
You could just
be one hell of a tattoo, man.
It's going to be in script across my whole back.
Back piece.
But yeah, those are my two right there.
Excellent.
I like it.
Do you ever apply that to life in general, or do you?
When I wake up, I run. That's about it. So I'm not living in Africa in the backwoods, so yeah, my life's a whole lot easier than that.
Okay. How about you, Matt?
Well, okay, so the other Eddie Merckx quote that was on our list here is, "Don't buy upgrades, ride upgrades." So, I mean...
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like... Was that what you were doing?
That's
over there.
It's
because we have upgrades.
Because I'm terrible at riding up hills, and if I want to ride faster up hills, I need to ride more hills.
Well, I just think, I mean, especially in triathlon, you have a lot of purchasing power. And also on the triathlete side, they're not famous for like crushing hills, right? So it's for me, it's just like, I mean, I don't know. I have these conversations with, typically it's with new cyclists, and I'm just like, I think once you start cycling more, you start just going to look for hills. Like, you start to love the hill, you love going to find hills. And
there's a stronger cyclist.
The majority of my rides, like, even if I kind of want to just be like, let me just go grab an hour, like, it's always like, well, let me go find some hills or whatever and climb them. Yeah. And even if it's like hot or cold or whatever it is. But, and I can definitely, I'm such a gearhead person. Like, I love like all the tech stuff and all the junk. And so I definitely need to remind myself, like, no, you don't need to buy upgrades. Just go climb some hills and have fun.
Just ride faster. Push the pedals harder.
And it doesn't matter what kind of bike you have. You could have the biggest turd of a bike ever.
Absolutely.
And as long as you're turning those cranks over, resistance is resistance. Power does not change. You're just not going to go as fast. But if you're out there just by yourself, climbing upgrades, you're gonna get stronger. And that's gonna equate to you going faster.
And let's be honest, who are you more impressed by in the group? The dude riding the old steel bike hanging in a fast group, or the guy on the $12,000 bike? Now, don't get me wrong. I want to be the guy on the $12,000 bike because that's a nice bike, and I like riding nice bikes. But everybody's more looking at who's this guy on the 15, 16-year-old bike right now?
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think we should all like appreciate it. Like, go ride an old bike because it's fun, and
they should do races of like down tube shifting races,
right?
like race where you're only allowed to be on like a steel bike.
Yeah, but I think the technology hasn't advanced that much, right? Like, you're pushing on pedals, it's connected to a chain, the chain's connected to your rear cassette. Like, that's I mean, whether you're on that $15,000 bike,
yeah,
you know, or
the $500
the
bike,
1982, you know, like 9-speed down tube shifter. Like you know, the technology's not that far off.
Hey, the record up Alpe d'Huez was set in the late 90s, and it's still there. Yeah,
and I think, you know, it's like you're not like getting like that much lost through the drivetrain. I think with the new technology or
as long as it's a clean bike,
But yeah, I think it's super fun to ride those old bikes. You do appreciate the newer bikes better because I feel like they're more comfortable. And then also you enjoy riding the old bike because it's super fun to be on like a classic bike. Yeah. So I think we should do some sort of classic bike event.
That'd be fun.
That'd be amazing.
Fun. Yeah, a part of that too. I always liken that to training, and I always liken that quote to just going out and kind of like cutting your teeth on getting stronger and faster as a cyclist. And it's funny that people will go out and they'll ride and they'll see that they're not quite as fast as everybody else, and they think that getting up that hill faster is about buying a nicer bike. And sometimes, I mean, it does have some merit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, there's even like the little videos that you can watch on GCN, and they'll compare the super bike to the, like, you know, $800 bike that they bought off of Craigslist, and you can see some of the differences. But a lot of it is don't concern yourself with spending, what is it, like you spend almost $1,000 or $1,200 per pound you drop off of a bike. So you know, to get that. And seriously, that's about what it is. I mean, if you want to make your bike go from 18, 19 pounds to like 12 or 13 pounds, you're going to spend about $1,000 per pound to drop that down. And it's not necessarily about that. That's not going to be what's going to make you faster. I mean, you might be able to go drop 5 pounds off your bike, and it might help you minutely. But if you go out and train and get stronger and change your body composition, that's where you're going to make your gains. Go ride upgrades, don't buy upgrades. You're not going to be able to buy speed. You're not going to be able to buy yourself getting to that hilltop faster. Go ride up it and do it over and over and over again. And with time, that will happen.
And then you get the faster bike, and then you're unbeatable.
Oh,
there
exactly.
You go.
Amen. Amen. So,
no, to play devil's advocate on that, I have found that when I pick up a new bike, my motivation goes up to ride more.
Yes, I would 100% agree.
And
with
I
that.
actually like think about that. I'm thinking to myself, like, in recent years, I'm like, oh, if I pick up a new road bike, I'm gonna want to ride it more, and there's some value to that. That's not necessarily like
I was
pounds
just
or whatever.
I was just telling Lance before this, so I just got Di2.
Yeah.
I'm like excited to ride I've never been excited to ride my time trial bike. Like, I love riding my road bikes. That's my core, is like cycling. I love the road bike. I am excited to get on my time trial bike with Di2. Anybody who doesn't have Di2 yet, just if you're able to get it, it's so incredible.
Especially on a time trial bike. Yeah. But I mean, I think some of these upgrades are, in my opinion, they seem like they're more comfort upgrades, right? Like Di2 doesn't make you faster. But it's so nice. Well, I mean, you can shift.
I don't know. That shifting is so smooth. I mean, like, that's just like boom,
or if you're not dropping a chain, then you're faster.
That's true. Yeah.
But still, for the most part, I'm thinking like I'm thinking of friends of ours or whatever. They're on like maybe a hand-me-down bike or whatever, and it just doesn't fit them well. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thinking to myself like, I really do want this person to upgrade their bike. You know, obviously it's when it's time. I do think you can get like a very affordable bike, and you can do absolutely marvelous on an affordable bike, but fit and stuff like that and comfort, I think that those are worthwhile upgrades. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
that makes sense.
I'm just
definitely,
and all of us have multiple bikes and are into it. So it's kind of a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black.
Yes.
Any other quotes in there that you like, Matt?
Anything
else that you dig on? Pick one more.
I love all of these. So there's another one. The bicycle is the noblest invention of mankind, and that just, to me, just thinks, you think about it and you're like, wow. I mean,
it's a bold statement.
It's a super bold statement, and I love like the thought process of just like, yep, this invention that was, I guess, probably 200 years ago. I don't know how long ago was the bike invented. For 150, 200 years ago.
That is an interesting point, and we are still riding and enjoying it. I mean,
and then you think to yourself, you're like, yes, being out on the bike is just such an amazing experience, and it has just all of these, global effects of just being like, you're not on this, diesel, engine or whatever it is, and you're not polluting, the atmosphere. It's just like there's just so many good things about biking.
So here's a quiz for Matt.
Okay.
You just picked that quote from William Saroyan.
Saroyan, Nobel Prize winner. I don't know. You're gonna ask me when.
Give me one fact about William Saroyan.
I don't know who. What's the details? What did he get a Nobel Prize for?
That is I believe it was for, he was a novelist, a playwright, and a short story writer who wrote, I don't recognize any of these. My Heart's in the Highlands, The Time of Your Life, My Name is Aran, and The Human Comedy. He was also a Pulitzer Prize winner for drama.
Wow.
Yeah. Who liked to bike too.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
Interesting.
There's one cool thing about him.
The only cool thing about it was I rode bikes.
Yeah. It's a cool quote for sure.
Yeah.
How about you, Lance?
My first quote that I want to share comes from the 18-year-old Darby Hepler.
Nice.
Hey.
Oh.
Nice.
And it's, "Where's Dad?"
The answer to that being
He's on his bike.
he's on his
again.
bike.
Now being romantic on his bike.
Okay, now that was just funny. The one quote that is in direct opposition to the first one Matt shared is an anonymous quote, and it's, "You can't buy happiness, but you can buy a bicycle."
Yeah, I love that
and that's
one.
pretty close.
I love that one. I love that quote. Yeah.
I clearly have a bicycle buying problem. I think
it's a good problem, though. I got to see this problem in person, actually.
Did you see
and
his
it is a
garage or
problem.
something? Yeah.
Evan did walk into my garage.
Yeah. He's 3
this
bikes
week.
short now, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
But do you feel more motivated? You know, you get a new bike and you're like, I'm going to ride this
Every
thing.
time.
Yeah.
That's why I've been riding
This
that
guy's been
gravel-
riding 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's like,
You know, I've been riding that gravel bike, once a week, and I've got all these mountain bike races I'm doing and these road bike races that I'm doing, and I'm like, I want to ride that gravel bike.
Yeah.
I just bought it, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
So,
And the other thing is sometimes I think about this with computers sometimes where I'm like, oh, I have this really nice computer. And then I think, and people kind of like give me like remarks or whatever. And I'm like, hey, how much did you pay for your car? And I'm like, hey, how much more time do I spend on this computer than I spend in a car?
Right.
Like, pretty much like doesn't even compare. Right.
everybody's got that thing that they want to spend money on.
And Lance is spending some serious time on the bike. So it's nice.
There's an adage that somebody gave me once, and it was basically put your pension where your passion is.
Yeah.
And you think about that for a second, you're like, yeah, I'm going to do that because it makes me happy. You think of all the times that you've gotten a new bike. How freaking happy are you, and how much do you want to go ride your bike?
Yep.
Yeah.
How many people do you know who were saddened or like a little bit melancholy about getting a new bike?
Nobody.
It just doesn't happen, and it gets people out there and it gets them excited, and I'm all about that, 100% about that.
Yeah. There's definitely when we're digging into these quotes a little bit deeper too, you think about what a bike actually means when you purchase that. That means you're making a commitment to also a new group of people.
Right.
If you want to, there's the cycling community is very social. We talk about that all the time on here. And sometimes it's a bunch of weird people coming together to be social. So if you're a weird person out there, just go buy a bike, and then you get to hang out with all the weirdos in the
rest of the weirdos.
With the onesies riding on the side of the road. It's actually a fun group of people.
Yeah.
And then also, you're out there being healthier. We talk about this in today's world. Like, what's the curse of today's westernizing world is being less active than our previous generations.
That leads me to the second quote that I really liked, and it's from Arthur Conan Doyle, the British author.
Yeah.
And it's, "When the spirits are low, when the day appears dark, when work becomes monotonous, when hope hardly seems worth having, just mount a bicycle and go out for a spin down the road without thought on anything but the ride you are taking."
That's my favorite quote on that list. That's the best quote on that list.
Seriously, think about all the times that you've been in a crappy mood, or just the things are all sideways, or like life feels like it's crumbling in on you. Like for me, it's saved me sometimes in my past. I've had some like really trying times, and I get on a bike and I go out and I just forget about everything, and it changes my disposition, and I come back, I'm like, you know what, I can do this. And you basically pull yourself up by your bootstraps because you got on that bike, and you go out there and you fight the world, and you come out on top.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things for me that has been spectacular.
I think that's the greatest thing about endurance sports is that it's not, and I think this is where people get lost in endurance sports, is we're always thinking about the results of what you're doing in this endurance sports. But I know Lance has brought this up in your life and the successes that you've had in your life. Would you have been able to achieve the same successes? I know you talked about the balance was tough, but without having ever done endurance sports.
I don't think so. I think the people that gravitate towards endurance sports or sports in general know how to suffer and know how to delay gratification for something that will come in the future.
Yeah.
Without knowing how to do those two things, it's difficult to really have major success without a lot of luck.
Exactly. Everything that you've done in your career was not something that happened in 2 weeks of awesome planning.
No.
You know,
it was 15 years of toil.
Waking up every single morning and doing the same thing again and again at a high level. And
and now I have too many bikes.
There you go. That's the thing. You just got to wake up super early, work long days, and you can have a lot of bikes.
So my wife asked me a question actually this morning as I was leaving, because we were talking about these rides I've been doing, and she says, how do you stay motivated?
Ooh, I like
How do you
this.
stay motivated? Because she wants to ride with me, but she like refuses to because she thinks I'm just going to, I won't be able to take it easy and let her kind of ride with me. And so she's like, I want to get out and ride more. You know, why don't you ask your buddies down there at the podcast how they stay motivated?
I like that question. Okay. Jake, go ahead.
That's a really good question, because I mean, you'll go through. I've been consistent with my training for well over a decade, and that's a really good question. And it comes back to some of these things that we've already touched on. It keeps me grounded. I need it. It's like that.
Yes.
It's like why. And I know that not everybody drinks coffee, but why do you get up and drink a cup of coffee every morning? Because it tastes good. You like the way that it makes you feel. It kind of perks you up a little bit, and it just is a great way. It gets your day going, and that's for cycling for me. That's kind of synonymous with a cup of coffee. So. Yeah. And for me too, there's a lot of camaraderie. There's a social component to it. There's a overcoming like certain goals. Like if you want to, you've kind of put this time or this number out there, or this event out there. Like overcoming the training process to get there, and actually seeing yourself realize a goal too is a big thing for me as well.
Yeah. I this is definitely a hard one for me, because this particular season I haven't had like the Ironman, carrot in front of me.
Yeah.
And like, you can just tell like performance is down, like injuries are up, like just not a great season. And so one particular like motivating factor is that fear of an A race or whatever it is. So in your case, Jake, it's like accomplishing this goal or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And if I don't have that, I'm still going to go do some of the minimum stuff. Like I'm still probably going to do a little bit of exercise each day, because that's my coffee, right?
Yep.
Where it's like, that's my, like, I need to pick me up. I need a break from work or programming or whatever. But for real hardcore motivation, nothing's more motivating than just the fear of a race that's coming up.
More to come here soon on Matt's recovery into next year.
Sure. And
that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
I've definitely talked about it with my wife too, where it's like, just kind of, I'm going through the motions or whatever this year, weights up and things like that. And it's kind of like, I know if I put something out there for next year, it'll I'll be scared enough to train.
Yeah.
So another thing to speak to that too, you don't know how much you love it and how much you miss it until somebody takes it away from you.
Yeah.
It's been ripped out of my life. I mean, literally in a snap of a finger, it was taken away from me, and I won't be able to do what I love for a long time. And I don't know how long it's going to be before I can actually be myself. And it really sucks when.
And this is where I'll make a general note to the medical community here too, because I know I've seen this with Jake, and I've seen it with a lot of the patients that I have. Unfortunately, when I have to treat endurance athletes, it's when they're in this stage that Jake is at now,
right.
And it's for me, I don't like hearing when medical providers or just people talking to their friends try to tell somebody, they're like, well, this sport's like beating you up. Like, why do you want to go back to it? You shouldn't. Like Jake, you shouldn't get on a bike again. Or like
quite a few times.
Or hey, you've had 3 stress fractures in the last 5 years. You shouldn't run again.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize what that means. Like, you're not just saying, hey, Jake, stay safe, don't ride a bike. You're taking away a massive part of Jake's identity, a part of what makes Jake Jake. So I don't think people on the outside looking in who aren't in these sports understand what that actually means to somebody. Mm-hmm. It would be the same thing would be like, well, what do you like doing? Well, I like going camping and fishing with my kids on the weekend. Okay, don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
The end. Just like, don't do that anymore. And that'd be very hard for your typical person to sue, but I think that would show like, okay, this means a lot to this person. This is their social health, everything. It's mental health, physical health.
There you go. Yeah. And I've had athletes that I've coached that have had to take season off because of injuries, and I do think when they come back, they're hungrier for it and they appreciate it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it's the stress fracture you mentioned is kind of like the classic example. It's like, okay, well, there's 6 weeks off, and I think in some ways Jake, I shouldn't even say this with you around. I think it's good for them, because I think like
I'm scared of Jake next year. Well, I'm scared of Jake now for next year.
It's just this whole like, I want them to appreciate running. right? Like I don't want, like you, Chick, you always appreciated biking. But a lot of my runners don't appreciate running at all. They do it because their parents make them, or they are part of the team and they feel like they have to be there or whatever. And they're happy to just go like, you know, not pay attention to this stupid old coach or whatever it is that they're, you know, they have to listen to this guy drone on. But then they have stress fracture and then they can't race or they can't run or whatever. And they're like, I miss
Wait
it.
a second.
Yeah.
That's an aha moment for sure.
I am having a fantastic summer on the bike. I really am.
Yeah.
But look at me 9 months ago.
He's a perfect
We were
example
talking about
right here.
Lance's back not too long ago. Yeah.
I was out for 6 months.
Yeah.
I didn't ride for 6 months.
That was a long time.
And when I could finally get back on the bike and ride again, man, my motivation was
Insane.
jacked.
That time off the bike for you created a monster.
Yeah.
I know. This is why I'm saying I'm terrified
I'm
of Jake
terrified
and
of
Lance
Jake.
now. Once Jake's going to go through what Lance just went through for next 9 months, and then we're going to have Jake and Lance are hammering, and I'm going to be like
Jake's
tired.
a much better athlete than I am, so it's going
I'm
to
in
be way
trouble.
worse.
I'm going to be
Jake.
getting dropped off our group rides here.
Well, I don't know about that, but it'll be fun, and hopefully we can all inspire each other just to get out there and be safe and strong. Yeah. Good one.
Thank you, Brandy.
I'm
That
going
was
to
from
toss.
Brandy.
I'm going to toss in one more thing for that quote too. I love how it talks about like Lance was big on the you just get up each morning and do it. So I'm not sure if I had told you guys this, but in my parents' house, now it's been years since I lived in my parents' house, but they have this unfinished basement in Ohio. I'm not sure if I ever mentioned this to you guys. I have a picture of this unfinished basement that sits next to my bed, right next to my Lance Armstrong poster. It's this unfinished, really like almost out of like a torture scene sort of looking basement. Not a safe looking place with one light bulb that lights the whole room.
It puts its lotion on the skin.
That is, yes, it is that basement.
Right.
So,
Oh boy.
So me and a couple
team.
of my friends, we call it the pain cave. Everybody's got their pain cave, but this is especially pain cavey because it used to not have a TV and had an old style radio. So we would just listen to the radio on this super old looking radio.
Tune in the dial, yeah.
Yeah. And we used to not have pads. They recently put in pads, but it was just a stone floor. We had a treadmill, a trainer, and a bench. And that was it in this basement. And we called it the cave. And what you did every single morning was whether you were swimming or doing whatever, especially during the cold winters in Ohio, you went down there and you suffered for a long time every single day. It was like the least glorious thing you could possibly see. But I think at least in me, and I know all of us have that story of what builds your consistency in the sport. To answer your wife's question, it was, for me, it was knowing that doing that every single day was making me better. I didn't know in what way it was making me better. And people ask like, why do you go into that basement for 3 hours and stare at a wall and ride your bike? It's like, I don't know, but something in me is telling me that this is making me better. So
You are a crazy person.
that probably explains a lot of stuff.
It's why you're a beast. It's why you had the fastest bike split yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
We
just
still
like-
have that old radio,
Yeah.
by the way. I need to bring that to Washington. I miss that radio.
You gotta take a picture of this little setup, the picture of the Lance
I'm going to take a
poster.
picture. Yeah.
It'll be
I'll
set
take a
up.
picture of the cave.
I'm thinking black and white with very like high contrast.
My-
like already picturing what it's gonna be.
My dad, when he's back in town from St. Louis, he has a nice camera. He's taken some nice pictures of that basement.
Yeah.
They've never considered finishing it either.
Just a puddle of sweat on the floor.
That's usually what it is. Like squeegee it off later and then just go.
Tough times.
Any other quotes you like there, Lance?
The only other one that I should bring up is from Johan Museau, a Belgian cyclist, and he said, "Crashing is part of cycling, as crying is part of love."
I like that quote. It's
I've never cried over love. I'm Lance Romance.
You're Lance Romance.
It sounded so much better coming from Lance. That wouldn't have sounded good coming from me. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Why do you like it, Matt?
I don't. It's like just tragic kind of sounding.
Correct.
And that's why I like it. I mean, I despise the idea of a bike crash. Like,
There's going to be some suffering.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always tell everybody it's not if, but when.
It's an adage for life.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I just think to myself, like, yeah, but I just stay upright today, every day. Like, just stay upright. Just don't crash. Like, whatever you're doing out there, don't crash. But there is some inevitability to it, and yeah. So
it's funny because I don't think I crash a lot, and then I start to like look back. I'm like, well, I mean, if you look at the sheer volume of hours and miles I've put in, I don't.
true.
But then like
Pretty
I
low
start to like
percentage.
I started making a list of like all the things that I've broken or torn or wrecked or all that other stuff. I'm like, huh. It happens, and it adds up over the course of time. I never thought I'd be that guy that was going to have this laundry list of like, I broke this and I broke this and I broke that, and I'm starting to turn into that guy. But it happens, and it's just a part of the sport. You can't be scared by it. You can't like change who you are or your passion for the sport because of it. You just got to go out there and do your thing. No, it's going to happen at some point in time, and you know what? You'll heal up, and you'll always get better.
I shouldn't have brought it up because we just had this whole conversation about motivation and the happiness cycling brings you, and then I talk about.
But cycling is life, man. That's just like endurance sports. There's going to be those super happy I'm riding my bike moments, and there's going to be the super not happy I'm laying on the ground moments.
Yeah. I hope that this isn't one of those bad omen statements too. I'm not out riding, so I don't have to worry about me.
Let's make this a blanket statement. We are making no predictions.
We are making no.
There's not any prediction being made right now. Yeah. Knocking on wood again.
Anything that happens a week outside of this, that doesn't count. So between now and next week, if anything happens, oh gosh. All right, I've got a couple as well, so I'll run through those real quick. The first one, too, from James E. Stars, and I kind of already alluded to this, and I think it's a good one. Melancholy is incompatible with bicycling.
Yeah.
And we've kind of already touched on that. And I really, honestly would love to see more people on the face of this planet who are in a bad way, who are cranky, or that motorist that's sitting behind the wheel of a car screaming at cyclists for no reason. Go jump on a bike, because you know what? It's going to make you a happier person.
Yeah.
It really is, and it's going to change your disposition, and it really could affect your entire life. Just give it a shot. You're probably not listening to this podcast, whoever
That's
this
true.
person is, but chances are one of you out there know that person.
We could start talking about like something that everybody would like, and then we can just start slipping it in, you know?
Yeah, I'm just hoping that there's a little bit of a butterfly effect from some of the things that we talk about here, because I really do think a lot of people could benefit from not only cycling, but running and swimming and triathlon, the whole gamut. You know, just get involved, use your body. Your body was meant to be used, and it's going to make you a happier person on the whole.
I used to tell people that if I was ever to run for president, don't vote for me because I'm terrible with anything politics, but I would just institute, if everybody moved to 5K every day, just be a better country in general.
Yeah.
Everybody would be too tired to be mean to each other.
And I just think like, the medication that's involved with like the, ridiculous amounts of things that people are taking to alter moods and things like that. Yeah, try 5K.
Yeah.
Go push yourself in something. Could be biking.
It'll suck for a couple weeks and then it'll be awesome after that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I think humans are supposed to hurt and humans are supposed to sweat. Yeah. If you're not doing those things, consider trying,
Yeah. Right.
It's a good point.
Prescribe some endorphins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not to mention the fact too that when you do get out there in the community, whatever community it might be, if it's just running, if it's triathlon or cycling or a mixture of all of the above, the people on the whole are the best people on the planet. They're the nicest, most caring, giving, well-dispositioned people that I've met, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. And I think those that says something by virtue of what it is that we do and the way that we take care of ourselves and the way that we're invested in what we do. It speaks volumes.
And every human being has the ability to tap into that. I know recently we've been getting a lot of scripts in the clinic for conditioning, which is, a doctor will prescribe somebody who's obese physical therapy for conditioning, which anybody who complains that now obesity can be a diagnosis needs to think about it. That's actually great for the medical field because now you can begin to treat obesity.
Right.
Before it was just something that somebody you could not prescribe something for obesity. So since that was made a disease, I actually think that's great because now you can be prescribed conditioning for it. And I've seen some people come into our clinic for it, and there's nothing like working with endurance athletes is definitely my passion. But what I realized recently was the most rewarding thing was seeing some of those people get over the massive fear that is going into a place where they know they're going to have to be working out and facing somebody like I know what I look like to those people. Sure. I'm not a not intimidating person to them in that sense.
Yeah.
I'm super skinny, and now granted to a bodybuilder, I'm not an intimidating person, but to somebody trying to lose weight, I am a very lean, tall guy.
Yeah.
And them coming up to me and saying, hey, I want to start doing this. And then showing up once a week and doing the stuff I tell them to do at home takes bravery and I think is awesome. Yeah. So, when we talk about getting people into these endurance sports, this is not a rare breed of people. I'm looking at 3 not that special people here at this table. None of us are LeBron James. Like this is, all 4 of us would be considered not super athletic at other sports. Outside, Jake was a good baseball player. Yeah. Me, not anything. No. So these sports do not require like major gifts just to start. So
we all very well could have been that person that was at the doctor to get that prescription.
Yes,
come in to see
absolutely.
You.
If I didn't have endurance sports, I've told people this. Anybody who watches how much I eat, I would weigh 400 pounds.
Yeah.
There's no, I would be getting that script and I'd be coming in understanding exactly what they're going through, which is tough. It is. Mm-hmm. We got philosophical there.
It's you know, and I just think the key takeaway is like it's doable.
It is doable.
You can do this.
Anybody can get on the bike. Yep.
Yeah. A funny thing with that too is I think my wife even understands this one because we all have our moments. You know, we're all happy, jovial people here, but we all get a little cranky from time to time. And my wife will literally kick me out of the house and tell me, go ride your bike and talk to me when you get back, because she knows I'm in a better attitude. I'll have a better attitude when I get back. And
that is a script directly from your wife.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Take this and go take it to the pharmacist and go ride.
Yeah, so the bike definitely is an attitude adjustment for me from time to time. Sorry, I'm over here. It's been 2 months since this accident. Tomorrow will mark the 2-month anniversary, and I just picked another damn blackberry bush thrown out of my leg.
Did you? Oh my!
Seriously?
Your body's like slowly working those things out.
I felt like the side of my leg, and I feel a bump, and I look down there, and I'm like, sure enough, there's another one of those little jackals.
That's gotta be why you're sleeping still is rough. Maybe your system just like working that stuff out, and it's working overtime still.
Yeah,
you need to miss that bush.
I needed to miss a lot of things that day. Here's another good one too. Let's see here, from Bill Nye, the science guy. US scientist. Bicycling is a big part of the future. It has to be. There's something wrong with a society that drives a car to work out in a gym.
I love that. I love that one. God.
Oh, that's just funny.
And I drive to swim, so I
can't think about this all the time when I'm like, I
drive
drove
to work
swim
even.
practice.
Yeah.
I have like 3 or 4 bikes I could have just hopped on.
Yeah.
Most gyms are probably nice places, and there's a lot of good that can come from gyms, and I highly recommend it. But there are certain ones where you drive to, and you're like, what am I doing in here with all these other guys that are just a bunch of meatheads making grunting noises, and everything's been touched and sweated on, is kind of bacterial laden kind of stuff, and I'm like, I could just go out and ride my bike and do my workout.
That's even where I'll say this. I know this could be controversial because I know a lot of people don't like this, but I've grown an appreciation for CrossFit recently. Now, I do not do CrossFit myself. I know that's shocking for anybody at this table. I do not do CrossFit, but I have a good friend who does. She does it professionally.
Yeah.
And just get to know these athletes. They're these people that come from that gym environment.
Yep.
But now they're becoming more dynamic, and they're going outside. They're doing these crazy workouts where they'll just take sandbags and run up hills, and it's like, I love it. It's taking that meathead, and it's like, hey, we're going to make this a functional athlete now.
I've always likened that to like the Rocky workouts. So
yes, exactly. I love it.
We used to do that kind of stuff back in the day when that was my jam, and that was what my profession was. But that's why I gravitate towards places like Movement Revolution, where our friend Robbie Halterman has his training facility.
That's his,
and it's just an open space, and it's just super functional stuff. Like you walk in, you don't see gym equipment in there. You see stuff like kettlebells and medicine balls, and you see some racks where you can go in there and do like pull-ups, and you've got this turf, like this beautiful turf space where you can get in there and get really dynamic with your movements, and you're doing stuff like a little bit of yoga, maybe some Pilates, and it's just a mixture of all this great functional stuff, and the environment is great. And I would drive my car to that kind of a place, but the other stuff,
Robbie's gym makes me happy as a physical therapist. As a physical therapist, I see that place. I'm like, I'm so glad these places exist.
And that's the kind of place where I walk into and like, all right, that put a smile on my face. I want to be here. And that's good stuff.
Yeah. And even those CrossFit gyms, they just have like a great environment around them. You don't see that in the gym. I hate when people talk about, they're like, oh, I go to the gym and just put in my headphones and don't talk to me. It's like, what do you do? Like, what are you, some like hermit? Like, is this just going to get on the bench and not talk to people for 3 sets and go home?
And that's,
what is that?
I understand. I get it. Like, you put the music on, you're blasting your stuff, and you push through some sets. I think there's something to be said for that. But the part that I think is missing is that we're all social human beings.
Right.
And like cycling, we know like, oh, you go cycle as a group, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Same thing. And I think probably that's part of the draw to CrossFit, right? Where it's like, we always joke around about, how do you know someone does CrossFit?
They'll tell you.
They'll tell you.
So it's just like, I think it's the social interaction that makes it that much more addictive.
Them and triathletes probably have a lot in common, but
exactly. yeah.
All right.
So.
Well, there's a bunch of other great ones on here. Maybe we can just like from time to time pull a few of them out.
Just we do like a daily quote. We do a cool daily quote.
Dig into something like that. That could be fun.
Yeah. Good segment.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed that.
We can title it after Nico too. It could be like Nico's daily quote. This one's for you, Nico. Yeah.
More quotes for Nico.
I'll put this one on. I'm gonna text this one to you in the morning in quotes too.
All right. Well, let's close out our last topic before we get into our one last thing with a little bit of a wrap up on the Tour de France, boys. Any closing thoughts on that thing?
It's so sad when it's over, isn't it?
Yes,
it's always like
I
when
woke
July
up depressed
ends.
this morning.
I know.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
what am I supposed to watch today? Like,
you guys are taking the wind out of my sails here.
I know,
You're
especially
talking to
for
the guy that
Jake.
can't freaking sleep, and I'm up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, well, at least there's the tour. Let me
Jake's
go get my
gotta
cup
watch
of
old
coffee.
tours now.
Like, dang it. So,
the Vuelta's right around the corner, man.
maybe
Don't
that's
worry.
why I didn't sleep
Is
the
it,
best
is
way.
it 3 weeks to the Vuelta or 4?
Airs no missions. I'm gonna say 4. Airs no missions. Yeah.
They usually don't televise that like on NBC
It's not as
Sports.
easy to
So
find.
how do you find like the Vuelta? Do you have to go
Does
online?
NBC
or-
Sports not have it?
There's a cycling package that you can get that carries a lot of the
Steep
spring race
Hill.
and the
Steep
classics.
Hill's how I usually watch it.
Steephill.tv.
So you watch it on your computer instead of on your TV?
Yeah, I would.
I just hook it up. I
Pull
just
it up
hook
on the
to my
computer
TV.
and then I'll just stream it, or
There you
I'll
go.
share
Yeah.
the screen with my laptop to the television.
That's usually
so,
what I do too, so I can just be on the trainer with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll probably set up here in the office and put the train out in front of it, and
There you go.
there you'll find me.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to TdF.
The tour.
How happy are you guys to see Geraint Thomas win?
I'm a big fan of him. I mean, I think there was a stage in the Alps where he finished and he was just like, no, that was great. I had a blast. And he was like, I'm still think Froome's the guy or whatever. And he was just so genuine and humble. Yeah. And I was like, you just dropped the whole field, buddy. Like you're the
It's
best
you.
rider.
Yeah, it's
like,
you.
It was, but like his attitude is just fantastic. So I think I might have said this before, but I was like, I think he just won over everyone that watched that interview or whatever. So I was like, that guy's
really
all right.
diffused a lot of this stigma against Sky and Chris Froome, and the fact that I think that he kind of came out and kind of smoothed that. I'm not going to say he completely did, but I think he really smoothed a lot of that stuff out because he's just kind of been a stand-up guy and he's beloved by his fellow cyclists, and just seems like a great guy.
He's going to be a hero in Wales for the rest of his life, which is just fantastic.
People still keep on calling him British, which I know people from Wales, I'm sure, hearing that, they're like, oh, that's terrible. But yeah, let's make sure this podcast says the man is Welsh, okay?
You know, it was great, too. He gave his, speech on the podium. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I haven't seen it yet, yeah.
He gives the speech on the podium. No prepared remarks, Armstrong or Froome, they usually had something.
They read something usually.
Read something, or they had something they'd memorized. No, he just walked up there and just kind of spoke from the bottom of his heart, and just classic human. He's thanking all his teammates, and he like forgot one of his teammates, and Dumoulin had to remind him of Kwiatkowski's name or something. So he's like,
Kwiatkowski, kind of an important teammate on her. Yeah.
It was so funny, and then. He almost forgets his wife. Then he thanks his wife, and then he mic drops on the podium.
Dropped the mic. I gotta watch that now. Yeah,
you gotta watch his acceptance speech. I haven't seen it. It was endearing. It just made you like him even more because he's
a very likable guy in the peloton.
Yeah. So
and what I like about him is it kind of mirrored to me, and a lot of people do not like this guy, but I loved Brad Wiggins. I absolutely love Brad Wiggins. I know a lot of people said, he was a jerk back in the day and everything, but he was a guy who came from track, great, like was not somebody who they believed was going to be a great Grand Tour cyclist, dropped a bunch of weight, ended up winning the Tour in 2012. Yeah. And I really think that G kind of reflects that. He came from track, was a big guy, and then ended up winning the Tour. And I just thought that was cool that on the same team, Sky's figured it out. They take these guys from the track world, from the British, track world, and they develop them into these great Grand Tour and one-day riders even. And I think the other teams need to catch up.
The young kid that they have on there right now that was their
Egan Bernal.
Yeah.
Egan Bernal.
That kid.
Watch out for him next.
He's 21?
21.
Yeah.
Leading the Tour up the final climbs on the last couple days,
Strong kid.
Now,
so Sky's set for some time to come.
The one thing that I'd like us to talk about here, because we're tech nerds here, I mentioned this to Matt.
Yeah, we've talked.
Talking about Stage 20's time trial.
Yeah.
So Lotto Jumbo is going into the time trial in great position as a team. They have Roglic, who's just butchered that. Roglic, right? Everybody want to correct me?
That's close enough.
Yeah, Primoz, Roglic, right? So
the ski jumper. Just call him the ski jumper.
He's literally been only cycling for 3 years. I heard somebody say
2012.
Comes from professional
It's a couple
ski
more
jumping.
years than that, but it's a very, very short career.
Incredible athlete. So he is going to be coming strong here soon. Krojcik. God, I'm going to butcher his name too. Anybody want to correct me? Go, Jake.
You did better than I
That
would.
was about it. Okay, so Those two guys are Grand Tour contenders.
Yeah.
They both go into that time trial close. They are putting out similar power to what I really do believe Tom, Froome, and G are putting out.
Yeah.
At that point in the tour, they get, they lose some time in the time trial.
Yeah.
People are talking about the setup that Pinarello has on their time trial bike could have been the difference there between the Bianchis that Lotto Jumbo was riding
There you go.
and the Pinarellos.
Yeah. Definitely think so. I mean,
you even look at the positions that they're riding in. It's just Froome is a time trialing machine in the position that he's in.
And I think a lot of us don't realize that, at that level, it doesn't. I mean, if you save 5 watts, I mean, that's a ton.
That's the tour.
And
That's the
guy's
tour.
got that figured out. So
and
Froome lost time trial by 1 second. That's everything. Yeah.
Well, and it's not something that any of us can just go pick up, but they're 3D printing their aero bars and pads, and it's all the way connected down to
all
the
custom.
the bullhorns. Yeah. Which and that's all tested in the wind tunnel, and that's a lot of time because anything on the front of the bike is going to cause the most change to your CDA numbers, right? So coefficient of drag stuff.
Okay.
So.
In the spirit of time, let me ask you guys
sorry.
two things here real quick, and then we'll move on. The first thing, just real quick, let's go around the table. What was your favorite moment from the tour?
Watching G win the Alpe d'Huez.
That was incredible.
Yeah. Yes.
It was just a
watching him
speed.
pull away there at the end.
Yep.
Yeah. That was just a great moment for me.
Great. How about you, Evan?
The stage that Nairo Quintana won because I know he had a tough tour, and I still love that guy.
Yeah.
I think he's great. He's humble. He's quiet, and watching him actually have a stage where he could raise his arms up was great.
Went from super great stage to follow that up with wheels fell off.
He looked so good that day. He's got so much potential as just one of the best climbers in the world.
Gotcha. How about you, Matt?
I love that short stage. I mean, that was super cool. Let's see. I mean, and then I think Geraint Thomas sprinted away at the very end of that one, and it was just a cool stage. It was short. They haven't done a stage like that I can think of in my recent history.
They haven't.
The other thing would be the cobble stage was super cool. I mean, there's a lot of carnage there, but it was cool to throw that one.
There was a lot of commentary on how people were saying that the tour got it right this year with making some of the decisions that they did by breaking things up and by putting the short stage in there. It was a good recipe this year. So yeah, my favorite thing was Deccan Kolb for sure. Just
awesome.
watching that boy break down and seeing him come back from adversity and getting hammered by a car. I like that. So that was good stuff. And then my last question for you boys: who's going to win in 2019? Who? Let's leave. Let's put everybody on the table. Who do you think? Do you think it's going to be a Sky repeat? Do you think Froome's going to come back?
Yes.
G going to come back and be the man now, or
no? I think Froome will race very differently next year.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll do as many Grand Tours, and he will focus just on the tour, and he'll come back ready for it.
So you're putting money on Froome?
Yeah.
Gotcha. How about you, Evan?
Roglic will win. Give that guy one more year on a bike. He's already a strong time trialist. They're going to figure out his time trial position. They're going to figure it out because he was out of position there. Guarantee that he comes back and wins, and he's going to be. Here's my pick. He's going to win by more than 2 minutes. He's going to be strong.
Gotcha.
Tom Dumoulin, just because for one thing I wanted to be different than the rest of the group here. But also I think he was by himself a lot, whereas Team Sky had 4 or 5 people, and he really biked well in that tour.
Yeah.
And honestly, he was second at the Giro, and
He's
still
strong.
came back and did second here. He is a very strong cyclist. So that's my pick.
Jake.
Not in the spirit of time, but copy and paste what Matt just said.
Super interesting, right?
That's exactly to a T what I was going to say. So I'm going to go with Dumoulin as well.
Okay, good. So me and Lance are the only 2 original ones here. All right, there we go.
I haven't
You guys can be original, Matt, and I'll be right.
I haven't picked a winner right yet, so whatever.
I apologize, Primo. I'm sorry for picking you.
Okay, one last thing. Lance, you want to start us off?
Just another shout out to my wife. I've been giving my wife a lot of love lately. Maybe I should, but it's a good thing.
Young men take notes.
She not only has given us some good content for the show, but she just had an art show.
Oh no, you gotta be kidding me!
A couple weeks ago, she had an art show.
Do we have Instagram pictures from it?
I might be able to dig some stuff up.
Yeah.
She's a super talented artist, and she it was part of the Vancouver First Friday or something, and she had 20 or 30 pieces up and sold a couple pieces during the show.
Dang.
So,
20 or 30 pieces.
Yeah, that's what she does.
Does she have a particular style that she goes with? Or?
She bounces around a little bit. She has a hard time finding what she likes because she just loves to paint and draw.
Find something that inspires her and she runs with it on.
So good.
That is super cool. I wish you'd, is that the show's over at this point?
It is.
I wish I had checked it out. I would love to have gone and brought the kids and shown next time. Give us a little heads up. Come on.
Okay, sorry. I will. More heads up next time.
There we go, yeah.
That's awesome. Evan, one last thing.
I have nationals coming up, and that's really about it. That's kind of the focus of my next 2 weeks, and then
Olympic distance nationals in Cleveland, Ohio.
Let's go Cleveland.
Oh yeah.
Let's go Cleveland. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I hope it's not too humid, but I know better. It's going to be humid.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Wishing you luck, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I got to race sort of with Evan yesterday, and I had a lot of fun. I just had a lot of fun hanging out with you out there.
I know.
Yeah, I had a really good time.
I miss I want to just do local races. It's fun around here.
We
got a great group.
Super fun, and had a good time. And always thank you, listeners. I mean, it's super cool hearing the numbers of this podcast. Like they're awe inspiring. Like I always hear we've got we're just crossed 40,000, and I'm like, what? This is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So thanks for every single one of you guys that hit the subscribe button or comment or like the video, like the podcast.
Yeah.
Videos to come. Yeah.
Video sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's awe-inspiring to me too. I would have been happy with just a couple hundred people saying, "Hey, we listened to you."
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to say thank you to Cassie. I'm not going to give her the full name because I want to let her keep some of her anonymity, but I really appreciate the email that we got from her talking about women's cycling. It was a great, inspiring some conversational points that she brought up, and we're going to chat and meet and might even get together to talk about having to come on the podcast to talk a little bit more about how she got into triathlon, why she's getting into road racing, and being a woman, like some things that have been in her way, or things that have kind of hung her up a little bit. So Cassie, we will be talking soon.
We had Kim Catherine.
That's good.
We had Kim Catherine on the podcast, I think about 2 or 3 episodes ago, and it's cool because it's generated some good discussion.
Yeah.
So
the women around here are a lot more interesting than the men, so
absolutely.
we probably could use more women. Yeah.
So my one last thing, and you guys kind of started to touch on it, we are going to start videoing these podcasts, and they will go up on YouTube, and they will be launched hopefully simultaneously with our podcast, so you can look and see and feel how things go down here. So getting the old, we'll call it the studio set
Lance
up here.
Romance has an opening for a makeup artist for that too.
That means I have to wear pants. There's going to be video evidence. I have to wear pants.
And they have to be puffy. So,
So, and then just one more thing here real quick.
Dr. Lance Hepler, Lance Romance, Lance Romance.
International man of mystery, man about town, Lance Romance.
Lance No Pants, Lance Romance. Last Chance, Lance Romance. Lance Romance in the house. Super Genius, Lance Hepler, Lance Romance. Lance Romance, Lance Romance. Puffy Pants, Lance.
that's my favorite one.
Lance Romance. Yes. In the house.
Y'all are welcome for that. Oh, I had a little bit of time in my hand yesterday, and I'm like, I got to do that. I've been wanting to do that.
So awesome.
Oh, no.
So thank you, Lance, for being Lance.
Yeah, you bet.
For being Lance Romance.
That's a thing now.
Can't turn it off.
Again, just to reiterate, you guys can find us on the old book face at Dial Podcast, on social media, Instagram platform at Dial Podcast. Email us, like Cassie did, any one of our first names at Dial Podcast, or if you can't remember our names, info@Dial Podcast. Give us a shout out. We would love to hear from you. Boys, as always, thank you. You guys are the rock of my early part of my week, and I love meeting with you and chewing the fat. So good times.
Thanks,
Always
Jake.
a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
All right, y'all. Thanks again for checking in. Bye for now.
Dr. Lance Hepler, Lance Romance. Lance Romance.
International man of mystery, man about town, Lance Romance.
Lance No Pants, Lance Romance. Last Chance, Lance Romance. Lance Romance in the house. Super Genius, Lance Hepler, Lance Romance. Lance Romance. Lance Romance. Puffy Pants Lance.
Lance Romance.
Yeah. Lance Romance. Yes. In the house.